I am Liz Murray, Emeritus Professor of Philosophy at Loyola Marymount University. I'd like to thank the organizers of this conference for inviting me, and I'll just proceed. The prompt for this conference invites us to address either COVID-19 or the continuing injustice of racism. I will speak to what I consider to be the most pressing problem we face in our country today: the danger of encroaching autocracy. This is not unrelated to the two challenges just mentioned. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its alarming death rate, has brought fear, distrust, and economic pressures, for some even devastation. When we combine this with the social unrest and angry divisions precipitated by racial injustice and recent acts of police violence, the common ground is perilously eroded. The situation in America today has become increasingly ripe for autocratic exercise of power. Lonergan in Chapter 7 writes of a longer cycle of decline brought about by general bias combined with group bias. He includes in the implications of such decline techniques of propaganda, tactics of economic pressure, terrorism of political police, and the transportation and imprisonment of minorities. I selected just those implications that are reflected in the current administration's actions. First, consider the constant disparagement of the press, charges of fake news, the daily repetition of lies, and the disputing of medical and scientific facts. Secondly, regarding economic concerns, there is the stalling of economic relief in Congress, large tax breaks for the wealthy, increasing financial disparity, resistance to raising the minimum wage to a living wage, and attempts to cut back on health care. Thirdly, there are the unidentified political police moving against demonstrators in Washington, D.C. and Portland, Oregon. Finally, the cruelest exercise of power so far is the ongoing policy of forcibly separating children from their parents and locking them in cages. We know the current president expresses admiration for the unrestrained power of leaders like Kim Jong-un and especially Putin, and he applauded Xi Jinping for building concentration camps to imprison the Uyghurs in northwest China. Am I expressing a misplaced or exaggerated fear? In 1953, in an essay on human dignity, Lonergan described the 20th century as an age of increasing autocracy. Unfortunately, I believe our 21st century is a continuation of this age, and that the threat to democracy in America is real. What can we do? What ought we do in the face of an increasingly significant social surge? How can we as individuals, as academics, guard against a slide into autocracy? In 1941, Lonergan wrote of a solution to the crisis of that day to be found in the inner revolution in the heart of men that must be constant. Quote, "This inner revolution is the illumination of his understanding and the purification of his will that must be effected. If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me." Luke 9:23. There is indeed an immediate and imperious necessity to rid the world of Hitler and all he stands for. But there is a deeper and more long-standing need for an inner victory, for the dethronement of the petty Hitlers in the hearts of us all. Totalitarianism hates inwardness. It is time to recommit to the self-reflection and heightened awareness of interiority, to a sharpening of conscience, and to the active pursuit of truth, justice, and charity.